Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Double D Experience. You're probably noticing both of our faces on the finest pair of man cheeks you've ever did see in your life.
That was my idea.
It was Dennis's idea, full stop. He's got a lot of good ideas for this fucking show. A lot of terrible ones, too, but it's okay.
Fuck you.
No, don't worry. Dennis literally opened the podcast with, "Yo, David, you're amazing." And I was like, whatever. And then he left the call because we got mad. But the point is, we're here to talk about Invincible.
We made up like Backstreet Boys. We made up.
Backstreet is, in fact, back.
Backstreet's back, alright.
D's are back, alright. Listen, I'd say like 2 helpings of like big, meaty, cheesy-ass pasta. So my asshole in 1 hour is about to turn into the rocket nozzle from Mario Sunshine.
And I had 1 Haagen-Dazs Belgian chocolate milkshake. And I tried to drink a second one. I failed.
But you drank the second one because you were being a gentleman.
I was, but I regret it wholeheartedly. It was, God, 1 was already bad enough. Not to mention I already ate Chipotle beforehand, so I
didn't mention that part. You ate Chipotle.
Well, I mean, of course I was gonna eat before I had the milkshake.
That shit's about to come out both ends.
After this, yeah, probably.
Yeah, so me and Dennis
I'm
might
also
be
drinking
off
coffee here.
Oh yeah, no, I also had a coffee before this as well myself. So me and Dennis are about to be fighting some demons, but that's because we have not been satisfied with the last couple of episodes of the Double D Experience, and only more satisfied by season 2 of Invincible, which is what we were talking about today. I watched Invincible for the first time recently.
By my suggestion from a while ago, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. Show's fucking incredible. The show's the bee's knees. Some would say the cat's pajamas. As you, in fact,
one would even say it's, and then cuts to the. All right, that was a terrible joke. It cuts to the title card.
Did you even have one? Huh? Did you even have one prepared?
Not really.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards. That was your brain just now. Yeah, Invincible. Before we even get into the nitty gritty of talking about this show, I just want to say more than anything else, my initial thoughts on Invincible, just period, before even talking about the actual show, is I'm grateful for it.
You're grateful for it.
I'm grateful for it, yes.
Expand on that, please.
What I mean being I'm saying I'm grateful for it is I'm very happy that this show can exist and thrive in the way that it has, becoming the cultural phenomenon that it is.
Yes.
In the current climate of television shows. For starters, we have the current state of animation, which, as we all know, not doing well. David Zaslav, after taking the tax write-off after shelving Coyote versus Acme, and also after not paying writers and actors for as long as they did because of the strikes, accomplished the opposite of what the actors and writers set out to do, and the man got a 26% pay increase, and he is now already even richer than he already was. Further reason why we have to eat the rich. Well, for canceling animation, and then making more money for it for some fucking reason, because that's allowed
Maybe
in our
Anissa was
capitalistic
right.
hellscape.
Maybe Anissa was right. I feel she was onto something. Like, maybe we do need just
well, that depends on the conundrums of what... that depends on the conundrums of what medium that you're deciding to partake of her wisdom in, Dennis.
Maybe not even eat the rich. Maybe just rip them in half, like...
But she rips everybody in half. It's not just the rich. She's not right at all. What are you talking about?
Guys, we apologize a bit, because I know season 2 has already been out for quite a while now already, and
obviously this is going to be spoiler heavy.
Yeah, and I know we're also a bit late to the train, as far as Invincible season 2 goes, because someone took a while to watch it, but we got here now.
You said that like you're talking about me when you're talking about yourself. Why?
I'm talking about both of us.
I started season 1 and watched through the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah, I know.
Before you even started.
I know. I'm just kidding. Jesus.
And you didn't even fucking watch Adam and Eve.
I didn't need to.
You know what, Dennis? Now that you're here, let me speak on this.
Okay.
Fuck you.
Season 2 is incredible, by the way, guys.
Yeah, I don't know if I liked season 1 better, but it's debatable.
I think, though, season 1, one thing that it has over season 2, I think the way the first episode started for season 1, I think will probably be, I think the most, like, probably the most shocking season premiere I've ever seen for any show.
Unfortunately, it wasn't for me because I did know what happened. Which sucks.
But like, let's say if
I'm picturing myself. Yeah, if I didn't, that would have hit so different.
Yeah,
that would have hit so different if I watched that without knowing what happens at the end of that one.
Just again, as David said, also definitely tons of spoilers. If you have not gotten around to finishing or even watched season 2 and you really want to, I guess just don't watch this episode this time around. Go and finish it and then come back.
Leave it on play, but then just leave it muted.
Yeah, or you could do. Yeah, either way.
Give us them sweet views anyway.
Give them sweet views, feed that algorithm, give us that like, comment, and subscribe, and all that good shit. But like, if you haven't watched it yet, go ahead and watch season 2. Go pirate it, do whatever you want, or whatever way you can to go watch it.
Watch we're going to be talking source if you can to boost
Invincible's metrics, so but if you don't want to, then fuck it. Like, it's your life and your internet service provider, telling you, hey, by the way, we saw you watching pirated TV shows. We're going to cut your internet.
I don't care about that. I just want it to count for the ratings. Yeah. But I mean, it's already confirmed up to season 5. Invincible got renewed all the way up to season 5. They very well might go through the whole comics at this point. And I can understand arguments for season 1 being better, to get back to that discussion.
Not even just season 1 being better. It was just the fact that the premiere. It was just the premiere.
No, I'm not even just talking about just the premiere. I'm talking about the whole show, because season 1, at the very least, it's slightly less scattered. Season 1 has like one. It has one big overarching narrative in that Omni-Man killed the Justice League, and the whole fucking season, you don't know why he did it. You have no idea why he did it, and like he comes off like this big, like this big masculine, like brave, like the typical American superhero,
like Superman, like
as he is. But then he fucking off the Justice League in one fell swoop.
Yeah,
and but you don't know why he did it up until the big reveal at the very end of the season. So I can understand some people liking season 1 for that reason. The fact that despite all the different narratives that happen in the show, it has one big overarching background one, I suppose. That there's that, I guess, and which is one of the main, like, I don't know, like, it's not inciting incidents, I want to say. I mean, it is kind of the inciting incident of the show, really, but I guess it's more Mark getting his powers if I had to pick. But
it was probably the best hook I've seen in a long time for a show. And the way also, like, for anyone who's ever watched the season 1 and like episode 1 in particular, I think everyone sort of remembers like the shock they had when they just saw Omni-Man just offing the Justice League. Like, the shock value of that alone was just like, I think one other show
there was like no
close.
Violence at all in the episode up until that point, right?
And
so you didn't even know. You didn't even know if it was this kind of show. Like, the show fucking looks and sounds like the goddamn like Justice League show from that we watched when we were kids. But then that happens.
Yeah. Subverted your expectations and all of that good shit, which we all love. And I think, again, the only other show that I've ever seen that kind of like has come close to that sort of like kind of hook, I suppose, just at least in terms of shock value, was The Boys, which is, when we saw our boy literally see his girlfriend get run through by a Flash, like, type character, and you just see him holding whatever is left of her hands in his hands. It's a crazy fucking I think it's like, it was what was it called? The Boys and plus Invincible by that point were like the two shows that like kind of took that whole superhero formula and like they really did make something truly unique and like just kind of something I mean, we've seen like bad superheroes before, but like I think the way that they're portrayed in The Boys and plus even in Invincible, like there was a point in time when we watched a lot of superhero shows that like, at least when they were first airing around like the 60s or so, they always were kind of just seen as like, it's Spider-Man. He can shoot web and he's not afraid of nothing. Or like, like Batman just kind of always, or even Superman were always just kind of seen as like these almost infallible, like kind of like characters in a way. And then obviously like as the years went on, we just kind of got more backstory when it came to these heroes and like kind of just how damaged they are. And, I think in a way
like the hero always suffers, but like, it got way more detailed as time went on.
And like much more vulnerable.
As it used to be just like, Superman. The greatest hero from another world.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with him, you'll die.
He'll literally tear you apart. Yeah, like they couldn't even say that during like the 60s. Like he's like, he's so strong he could literally rip your head off with his damn pinky. Like, you know, it's just like,
we're not gonna show you that, but he can. Just take our word for it. Just trust us.
Yeah, just trust us, please. Like, source, we made it up. And
try proving us wrong, pussies. You good.
And like, you know,
and all he fought
obviously
were mobsters in the original show too, because special effects didn't exist, so you could never see him fight a giant. I don't understand how people would like the TV. Well, I mean, it was the original TV show, I guess, but my father watches it all the time on Sundays when they re-air that shit on like the old people networks, right?
Oh, like TV Land and shit.
Yeah,
like those,
yeah. And the thing is, obviously, special effects didn't exist, so all he fights are like mobsters and shit. And it's like, okay, it's Superman versus a mobster. Just flick him and he falls. Yeah. It's like what is?
Or the
what
old
is this?
Adam West Batman series, which campy as they are,
that
it's
was
like
different,
I actually appreciate them
because he had no powers. The power levels were completely different, so it was completely fine. Yeah. It's fucking Superman, and he's like dealing with like the fucking like the Godfather and shit. Like what the hell?
He's dealing with Michael Corleone.
I don't understand how like people watching that back then, besides the fact that I guess it was the first portrayal of Superman on a TV screen, couldn't feel cheated, because in the comics he's fighting like fucking like giant monsters and shit, and like giant robots and all that stuff.
Galactic
and that was, like,
threats.
Exactly. And they can't do any of that in like this fucking like sitcom ass like
it's just like, it's not in the budget. We can't do it. We can't show Darkseid. It's not in the budget. I'm sorry.
It's not a matter of the budget. The technology like didn't exist.
I mean, you know, the thing is, people argue that, but I've seen plenty of movies, at least around the 80s, where, like, they were trying to push the boundaries. Like,
well, that was different. That was 30 years later, Dennis.
I know, yeah. But, like, you know, further down the line, like, they were trying to kind of, like, really, like, push the limits of, like, what they could sort of portray. Especially, at least, the Dune that we have from Denis Villeneuve is not the first attempt at kind of showing that story on the silver screen. There was one other movie that came out around the 80s, and, like, they actually hand drew a lot of those effects that were in that movie, particularly the shields. And that was an insane effort. Or like even like in today's standards, like 2D animation as far as that goes is like probably the most like labor intensive fucking like production like ever. And it's no wonder that like at least Invincible season 2 like took as long as it did. And you know, as far as even like 2D animated shows go nowadays, it's just like it's not getting any simpler, really. I think arguably like the medium itself is still very potent. It's just kind of maybe I don't want to go as far as to say like going out of style, because we just have Invincible. We have Invincible. Like it's not going out of style, but I think for a lot of people it's just like money wise, it's like, and time as well, and labor, like it's just so much that goes into it now that like it's really hard, I think, to kind of like sustain that. Like, I mean, because compared to, let's say, other 2D animated shows that we have, like let's say especially Rick and Morty and even Family Guy, which like I'm not gonna say is so piss easy to make, but as far as like, you know, Invincible goes, there's like a lot more complicated sequences that are in that entire show that like obviously like animating it like for frame by frame, and even going into like how in Japan 2D, like, you know, all anime is 2D. Like there's been attempts at 3D, but they're terrible most of the time.
Dennis, don't be ignorant. You yourself watched Invincible season 2. It's why we're here.
Yeah.
The creator of the show explained to you how they do that. In Invincible, he breaks it down for you.
Yeah.
In the most brain dead way and like meta way he possibly can.
I don't even want to say brain dead. I think it was actually like pretty. It was kind of smart.
I bet brain dead isn't easy to understand. There's a scene in season 2 where like Mark goes to Comic-Con and he meets the creator of Seance Dog, which I'm just gonna imagine was probably voiced by the actual creator of the show. That sounds like the kind of thing they would do, but I don't know if that's true. Don't quote me on that. And basically he explains to them like, Mark's like asking like, whoa, how do you guys do animation? Like how do you make like those fight scenes and stuff? And he basically just explains, like, through a bunch of various shots that, like, they save most of the budget for the fight scenes, and that's what they spend the most time animating. And then they literally cut corners by, like, doing a bunch of, like, various cheating methods. And he was like, one way that we do it is that sometimes we'll do just a wide panning shot with a voiceover over it, and you're just paying attention to the voiceover. None of those characters are even moving.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't even care.
It gives that illusion of movement.
The illusion of movement. Sometimes the animators get a little bit carried away, and then they just draw like a couple of frames of Mark with way too much like anime detail on his face and like different shading and whatnot. Like he looked like he was like from like Studio, like what is it? How do I pronounce it? Ghibli? How do I pronounce it?
Ghibli.
It's Ghibli. Like he looked like they made him drew him like a Studio Ghibli character real quick, and they basically explain to you how they do that. They basically cut corners on a lot of other scenes where you don't even recognize the only thing moving is their mouth. And the rest of the budget goes to the fight scenes, which is where they spend most of the time, because that's where they can't really cut the corners. So that's how they do that. But also part of how they do that, Dennis, is part of like budgetary planning. How much of it is like animation really getting harder, which is not even necessarily true with how advanced computers are now and whatnot, and just how advanced technology is, and how much of it is late stage capitalism and like pricks like Zaslav breathing down their necks just to break their bottom dollar. Spider-Verse got delayed because they recognized they can't push these guys to like make something that ridiculous in a short amount of time. And it also depends on like how much faith the network executives have in a show.
Yeah.
The reason I'm bringing that up, right, is because it took so long between Invincible Season 1 and Season 2. What was it, 3 years?
Checking that right now, but continue.
Like 3 years, something like that. And part of the reason that happened is because animation takes a really long time. But one thing everybody online doesn't understand, they're screaming online right now because you know what else got confirmed, and we're not going to talk about this for a long time, I'm just using this as a comparison, would be Season 2 of Velma, which was announced a couple of weeks ago.
2 years, by the way.
2 years, by the way, yeah, which is a super long time regardless. But Season 2 of Velma's coming out, and everyone's like, whoa, everybody hated Velma. Why did they do this? Oh my god, network executives don't know what we want, blah, blah, blah. And there's truth to that to an extent. But the thing people don't understand is that it got picked up for Season 2 regardless, and the reason they did that is because animation takes a really long time. What everybody thinks is that Velma got a Season 2 because everybody hate-watched it. And so the ratings made it seem like, oh, people like it. That's not what happened. It was going to get a second season regardless, but they make the second season of animated shows in advance while releasing Season 1 sometimes, and hope that Season 1 does well and that they can just release Season 2. Maybe not the most ethical or not smartest monetary practice, but they do that because they might spend money on animation that they're not going to release, but it also makes it so if the show's a hit, they don't have to wait too long. And I have a feeling that the gaps between Invincible might be lesser and lesser as time goes on, considering
which I'm kind of concerned about too.
Yeah, it got renewed all the way to Season 5, so they might be lesser and lesser, right? So if you really don't want Velma to come back, which none of us do, don't watch Season 2. That's the one they're going to be paying attention to ratings-wise. Season 1, it was going to happen regardless. It didn't happen because you hate-watched it. Anybody who says that doesn't know how animation works and don't know how long and painstaking of a process it actually is to get that shit back.
To be fair, we also fed into that Velma beast as well. Like, we did watch 2 episodes of it. So, I mean, we're part of that statistics, if nothing else. Like, we did also kind of... I don't want to say it was like a hate watch. It was very just much like... Just genuine curiosity.
I tried my best,
exactly.
But it was
I tried too, but I just couldn't.
Nothing about it made any sense. It was so fucking poorly written. But, but regardless, back to Invincible. That's part of how they do that, and... I guess I'll save like how I feel about the show being grateful until later. What do you want to talk about first? I mean, do you want to like keep talking about Season 1? Did you want to move on to Season 2? Because I don't know if I want to save like my overarching thoughts on the show until later, because I know exactly how I feel about it, and that is, fuck it, I'll just say it. I'm sorry. I'm very grateful that this show exists. And what I mean by that is I'm grateful a show like this can thrive in today's environment. Not even just because it's animation, which is a huge thing for me. Quite frankly, if it wasn't animated, my eyes wouldn't have touched it as much. I wouldn't have had nearly as vested of an interest. And part of the reason that is because this show literally feels like those, after school or like Saturday morning, like superhero shows that we would watch when we were kids.
But
to the point
adults.
where it even, but for adults. And it even to the point where it even follows the same monomyth. Kid gets his powers, wants to be just like his favorite superhero. It follows all the same fucking tropes and still somehow manages to be something enthralling and unique about it. And that's because so much of what this show is written is not to be realistic, like say shows like The Boys are, which do its own thing, and that's why The Boys is amazing in its own right, but rather believable. And that's the difference between good writing. People think you have to be realistic when it comes to like writing. That's stupid. There's movies like Star Wars which completely changed like the pace of movies and whatnot, and like the entire fucking industry, because it's fucking Star Wars, and it's not realistic at all. It's that way in the future, and like it's about a giant like intergalactic space civil war. That changed everything, right? Invincible is the same, so you might be thinking, oh, what makes it realistic then? It's because it's believable. Everything written is relatable. It's different. Like, they add little elements that make it relatable. It's, you know, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, you can have, like, childhood traumas or whatever, like being, like, assaulted or whatever, and then you can portray that into, like, a fantastical environment in a totally different way. It's because, like, you know, like, what's his name? I forget the writer that said it, Jacob Kruger, I think, who said, like, you know, J.R.R. Tolkien never walked through Middle-earth. He didn't carry the One Ring to, you know, he didn't carry the One Ring
to Mount Doom.
To Mount Doom or whatever. He didn't do all that, but he knows what it's like to struggle. He knows what it's like to have trauma. He knows how to, like, relate that in a character and put their own spin on it, and that's what makes or breaks it. And Invincible is the same way. Like, one example would be Mark and Amber's breakup scene. Insanely believable breakup scene.
Oh, that was pretty rough to see, actually.
Oh, yeah. The reluctance on both ends reminded me of me and my girl, like how we both were even talking about ways we could still make it work because we both still wanted to make it work when it just fucking couldn't. And that's what made it hit. Them forgiving each other for it, feeling like they failed each other, them both just slowly reducing, like, their body language of it, getting on their knees and just hugging each other, knowing it was over. All of that. And it's actually part of the reason I'm kind of glad they didn't include that scene at this point, because that would have made the narrative a little bit different. They would want it to go in a different direction, but we'll get more on that in a bit. So, yeah.
I guess one particular thing that I just really loved about in this season in particular was just Mark in general. And seeing him, like, we've kind of seen the whole struggles of, like, a teenage superhero before. We've seen in Spider-Man 2, like, you know, Peter, like, just kind of struggling with how to balance.
The alternate universe that he goes to, where he is supposed to
be, it's actually supposed to be Spider-Man,
but they couldn't get the rights. Comics.
Yeah, but they couldn't get the rights to him, so, you know, what are you gonna do? It would have been fucking awesome.
Even for Amazon, that shit's money.
Yeah, like Disney, like, I know Disney would have had them by the balls, like, they just kind of, like, they probably maybe did one day kind of ask them, hey, by the way, can we borrow Spider-Man for, there's one scene in Invincible? He's like, yeah, sure, it's, $500 million. They're like, what?
Think about how much litigation it took for No Way Home to happen. It's like, it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening for Invincible. Yeah. There's no way.
I think, like, honestly, like, just the impact of it really did not. Like, you know, him seeing Spider-Man, it's like, you know, whatever. It would have been funny. It would have been. Like, if they got either Toby, Tom, or even Andrew to voice that particular
or whoever
Peter.
voiced the animated Spider-Man, which I don't even remember. I don't even know who that is.
It would have been funny, but, like, you know, it's not necessary. But I think definitely the highlight of this entire season, like, I mean, you know, goes without saying he's the fucking main character, was Mark, you know, / Invincible. And, like, you know, it kind of reminds us of, like, remember when we watched, like, Spider-Man 2 a while back with Tobey Maguire, and just seeing him really struggle how to balance how to be a superhero and also being a son, a boyfriend, and a friend even. Like, it's just like he's literally, like, fucking juggling all these, like, I guess these other like, not like lives, I suppose, but, like, these are all parts of his life that, like, you know, he's just, we see him, like, just struggling to even, like, have any semblance of balance in it, like, at all. And, like, that, and the whole breaking point of it is that, you know, eventually, like, him and Amber just can't be together, because she even says it herself, where, like, she's not even that breakup too, she wasn't even thinking about herself only. She was even thinking about him too, that, like, they're gonna use me to get to you. And then, like, and she just even blames herself a lot of times too, because, like, there's even that point where, like, they're having that dual dialogue with whoever they were talking to. I think she was talking with Adam.
She was talking with Eve, and he was talking with the superhero,
the costume maker.
Yeah, the costume maker. Yeah, I forgot his name.
And, like, you know, they were all just kind of, like, you know, them two, not Mark and Amber. The two of them were even just saying, like, go and be, like, together. And, you know, I even thought, like, you know, it's, I think even in a way, like, I did agree with them, but, like, it's just when your, like, loved ones' lives are, like, threatened like that, it's just, like, you know, like, it was very believable and very understandable as to why they both knew, like, they just had to end it, because this, like, how much longer can this go on? And it's not like you're gonna stop being a superhero either.
It can only be decided by you. Because, like, the advice that even, like, you know, the stylist gave them would seem like good advice, but you never, it's, at the end of the day, you have to decide it for yourself what's right. You know? And, part of the reason it was so well written as well is because we all knew it was coming. The whole time, it was so fucking dragged out, to be honest. Like, we all knew they were gonna break up, and it still hit.
Yeah,
even I was really like, even I, as a guy with Asperger's who struggles to empathize at first, it takes a while for those things to hit me. Even I was like, oh, I felt so bad. Like, I just felt so bad watching it. I was like, that sucks. That really fucking sucks. And we all know he's supposed to be with Eve. Unless they pull some other shit differently. Like, we all know that. Like, that's also very fucking heavy-handed. It's kind of very obvious, but like
they didn't even leave it to any imagination by like that last or that I think the penultimate episode
that
of
one
that
frame in the fucking premiere or the second episode where he meets Eve, sees that like she's dating Rex, and you have like the relatable man. Aw. Like, face that just he gets. Every man watching has made that fucking face at one or another point in their life with a girl they just met, and they're like, huh, maybe this'll be, maybe this'll be so. Oh, she's dating a douchebag.
But can we also say
hella redeeming character arc if that's what you were going
exactly.
on for Rex.
Just talking about Rex for just a little bit, like, holy
Rex
shit,
got
like what?
Fucking capped.
Domed. He got Bro got domed at point blank range.
Dude,
and
I was so stressed out watching that scene.
Oh my god!
My god, watching that was fucking terrifying.
Fuck! Oh my god!
The whole scene.
I was like, I like tensed up a bit. That like
were you like hugging a pillow? Because I was.
Not a pillow, but I was just like, I felt like my body just internally stressing the fuck out, and I was like. I'm like, oh, she dead. Oh, she dead as well. He just got domed. And
what hits is while he's fighting her is that you can feel the panic in his voice. Like, from his voice actor was a great one. Like, when he straight up said, like, no, this cannot be happening. Like, this is not fucking happening. Holy shit, we actually lost.
And he gets so fucking outraged that he just got shot in the head.
That was funny as hell.
It was so fucking funny.
It's very Johnny Cage-esque. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, when he was just stopping his shit. You shot me in the fucking head. Fuck you.
It was so. Like, when
that
he
shit
got
was so
up,
funny. I was like, you know me.
Yeah.
I'm practically invincible. And he's just fucking only that character could make that scene fucking funny.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. Just because of how even outrageous he is. It was so just appropriate to a T that, like, we got those moments with him. And then even then the almost character growth that he goes through towards the latter half of season 2.
Yeah.
And like just the kind of like sort of like, you know how like people even say like death, like a near-death experience like really can change a person. And like it just goes to show like, yeah, like he even mentions like, oh yeah, I just like before he died, or he thought like he was gonna die, he said his life flashed before his eyes, and like he even said, I thought that was bullshit, but no, it's true, and it fucking sucks. Like it was probably the realest thing like I've heard in a while. And like and like for a guy like him too, who we just think like, oh yeah, he's just an arrogant fucking douche who like, just like thinks he's invincible, and like,
he has some of the shittiest powers out of like any of the group too.
The thing is that
I can make light sticks out of my hands.
I could make explosives like thing, and it's just like,
which is cool. It is a cool power,
which is cool,
but like compared to the rest of them, it feels a little underpowered.
I also feel like when it comes to like superhero power, like superpowers in general, I really do think like having Viltrumite type powers, or like let's say even Kryptonian powers, you're just like OP, man. Like nothing really can fucking touch you.
I'm very anxious to see how the fuck like the Civil War, like the rebellion against the Viltrumites is even gonna go. Because like, first of all, Alan's gonna get a spinoff. I guaranteed. Unless Rogan says no. I mean, I can't.
Seth Rogen as him, like it was probably one of the few times I've seen Seth in an actually serious type of role. And like he did it very fucking well.
He's done it before, but like
he did. He was Steve Wozniak too in that Steve Jobs biopic. So
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so like,
acknowledge the Apple II team.
So we've seen him do some serious roles before, but like I think this is one of the few times where like I think for one, he was also even Mantis. He was also Mantis from fucking Kung Fu Panda.
Was he?
Yeah, he was Mantis.
Okay. It was also that one movie he did with Joseph Gordon-Levitt where he gets cancer, which is also a comedy, but like it's at the same time.
It's a lot of heart. There's a lot of heart
in that role. Yeah, Rogen's not that bad of an actor. He just does his shiitake ass mushroom like drug movies. That's insane.
Which like we know they are what they are, but like I think the few times that we've seen him like really be in a serious role and actually like excel at it is like definitely one of this was Invincible as well. Like it's him playing. It's
kind of great casting. It's really great casting for like that character. Like, truly,
his reactions to so much shit that happens to him is so fucking realistic. Like when that ship passes him, and he's just like, "Oh, I hope they didn't see me," and then they fucking come out and like they go after him.
Like, oh shit, they saw me.
And then like the scene where he gets punched, and he's just like, "Oh, that didn't hurt that much at all."
Yeah,
it's just I think overall, like if we're just gonna like maybe not go into casting too much, but even just kind of compliment it really well just here, because I think just going off of how we already had like great casting from season 1 and then even just showed even more this time around, and not to mention like I will go on and add to when David said that this season was just felt a little bit scattered because there was like so many plots and subplots kind of going on all at the same time.
There were in the first season too. It's just we had an overarching one. That's all.
Yeah. And one of them being was also another one was Donald, the fucking human then turned cyborg who has died. Apparently, he said 39 times now at this point, and has reborn himself over and over again, and even told the agency that he don't want his memories back because, well, obviously, even for one, like for obvious reasons, but then even just that, like, he just said like, I need to be here. And like even just that one scene where Mark's friend and his gay boyfriend, like, they were like, he was in season 1, if you guys don't remember, he got captured and he got turned into like this android cyborg type hybrid, and like kind of was being cut up and everything, and like he saw like the surgery and all that. It was pretty fucked up, and like he got then put back together by the CDA, I think is what they were. Was the agent?
The
GDA, yeah,
Global,
like and
Global
they
Defense Agency, yeah.
And he came back, and he looks normal, like, or at least we think, right? But he's dealing with hella PTSD because every time he sleeps, he sees himself vividly getting cut up again, over and over again, and the guy's literally about to off himself because he just can't like deal with the trauma. And then eventually, like, we see that that one rooftop scene where the guy's literally about to fucking just end it all right then and there. Sorry, like, YouTube, if like this isn't like obviously family friendly here, but and who's the one to go and save the guy is Donald, because Donald's the only one that can even has an inkling of what the fuck he's going through, because he's come back like over and over again, like I said, 39 times, and he's the only one on that rooftop that even has like any understanding of what this guy's going through. And that whole heartfelt speech that he had from, like, I fucking love Donald, and I really also kind of felt bad for him the first couple episodes that he sort of found out that like, oh, like, for one, I'm not human, or at the very least I'm not 100% human anymore, because he's mostly machine now at this point, because he's just been reborn like so many fucking times. And like seeing even him, like, I think there was just no dull moment in this entire latter half of the season. And I even will say it's kind of a shame we didn't get enough of J.K. Simmons, which, like, I kind of wish we got more Omni-Man, who doesn't, but the 2 episodes that we got at the first half of the season 2 between him and Mark were fucking amazing. It was so fucking good. And like just hearing the hurt in his voice before the Viltrumites attacked, it's just so fucking peak, man. And
you're talking about episode 4 of season 2?
Yeah, and also just kind of like that whole like
it was episode 5 by that point, I guess.
I think it was like episode 4 and then a little bit episode 5.
No, 4 ended with teasing that Nolan was back when he went to go when the Thraxans.
Oh yeah, you're right. So then 4 and then 5. Yeah, 4 and 5.
It's like, we're taking you to meet our emperor, and then his emperor's fucking Omni-Man.
Yeah, his dad. And then like just seeing the reunion, which I mean, if for anyone who's obviously read the comics, it's like, you know, everyone kind of knows, but like just seeing that being acted out by Stephen Yeun and J.K. Simmons was just like so fucking like, it was just like a masterclass of just like in my opinion acting. It was like just so like like I said, there's never a dull moment in this season. So like if you guys are still watching it, you know, again, spoilers, you know, before like from way beyond like long time ago, like in this episode, we said it before, spoiler alert, but like, you know, have you gotten to like the end, like, you know, like, again, I was never bored in this entire season. Not that I was even bored in season 1, but like, I think sometimes, like, especially when you have a season with so many characters kind of, and so many plots and subplots all kind of going on at the same time, and we're kind of seeing them unfold like through each episode, it's kind of sometimes hard to even, 1, keep track of it, and then 2, sometimes you might even find a lot of them boring, but none of them were boring, like, at all. And even, like, you know, none of them. And I enjoyed every single one of those episodes. And it just goes to show you of how, like, just top-notch the writing is for the show.
It's not easy, too.
No, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's not easy. And, like, the fact they could do it so well.
Multiple arcing narratives like that is something that takes time to be professionally written, but those are all the best shows. And if I could ever write something that's a fraction of as good as Invincible, I would feel like I would have fulfilled my life's purpose. If I'm keeping it a stack. Because, like, really, like you said, so much of it. And so much of it was added as well. Like, the whole Debbie's, like, trauma and stuff.
Oh, and that too,
Which I'm surprised wasn't included in the comics. That was not in the comics at all. Apparently that was just something that was written more for, it was written more for the show, which I guess makes sense because I didn't know what else they were going to do with Debbie, to be honest, at least up until, like...
Which I'm glad they went that route. It made sense, too, considering, like, the trauma that she had, like, through all that. Like,
yeah, there was no support group for the spouses of superheroes. Yeah, it's not in the Invincible comics at all. That was a good addition, then. Yeah, it was.
That was a very good addition.
Yeah, there was none of that. There was no Image comic crossover characters. Eve apparently moves to Africa when she runs away from home in the comics, like, to just do some charity work instead of just, like, fucking off to the woods or, like, to the mountains or wherever she goes to be honest. The Second Invasion was different. Gary Immortal storyline. Apparently, that by this point in the story, the Immortal and Duplicate were married. Mm-hmm. Which apparently, I guess that's gonna happen later, or they tease towards that. Yeah, all that different stuff. But you know, the point is that doing like all those overarching narratives is like a very hard thing to do. And like knowing like the way these work, Dennis, is somebody I know, not to sound pretentious, but as somebody who has sort of worked in a writer's room before, the way they work is that you literally get like a big ass whiteboard, right? Mm-hmm. And you have like a timeline, like that fucking scene in Back to the Future 2. You know, when like Doc Brown goes to Marty, he's like, all right, Marty, this line represents time. And we are constantly moving through it. Somewhere at this point, we fucked some shit up, and now we gotta go back. You basically, but that was when they had to explain it like that because the concept was new. Now there's a multiverse and everything now, and I even rolled my eyes, to be honest, at like at the first episode where Angstrom Levy comes in. I was like, "Fuck! Like, can we just not?"
And in comes the multiverse,
but it's not that important. It's not like it's
not as important.
Multiverse shit, but it does play a role.
That first episode was actually like, oh shit! Like, you know, if like seeing what would happen if, like, you know, in another timeline, if Invincible was
no, I was groaning. Evil. I would have done the exact. I would have done the exact same thing. I would have done the exact same thing, but I was still groaning because I'm like, I know this isn't the mark.
I know.
But stop wasting my time.
But seeing him also just being so smug was actually like really, just a joy to watch, in my opinion, because like it's so eerie when someone like that powerful is just so disregarding of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Injustice
Like, it was
really inspired a lot of shit. I mean, I don't know if Injustice came before Invincible. I'm gonna assume it probably did.
I think Injustice probably came.
At least in the comics, it probably did. Yeah. I have no idea how old Invincible is. I'm not an avid comic reader. I should be an avid comic reader, but I'm not. I really should, but I don't, to be honest. But I should, but I don't. Yeah. But to go off on that, like, continuing with what I was saying, they literally get a whiteboard, and per episode, they have, like, each of, like, the main storylines that they're doing. There's something called the A plot, which is the main plot of the episode. Then there's the B and the C plots, which are, like, the sort of secondary ones that come in. Take a Family Guy episode, for example. Like, like, this episode, they're showing Meg colleges or whatever. Meanwhile, back at home, Stewie and Brian are having a really hard time opening a can of orange juice. And hijinks ensue. That's the B plot. And then what they do at some point is that they literally, like, cross the timelines to see where the B plot intervenes with the A plot if they want to, like, combine the two, because that's just something a lot of, like, viewers appreciate in good writing. Like, like, Brian and Stewie got so pissed off at the not being able to open the orange juice that they go to the orange juice factory, which is located right next to the Meg's college. And they flooded the college by accident because of their hijinks.
And hijinks ensue.
Both plots converge like that. Obviously, Invincible is a little bit more of a serious show, but a little more intertwined with even more narratives, because they have B and C plots. That's when it gets really, like, bad. And you never want to have the C plot, like, overtake it, because, like, it's supposed to be the background one, but then if it overtakes it, you're like, wait, this is what we were supposed to care about the whole time? And then that's what makes the writing just bad and whatnot, and the show just never does that. Ever. It knows what to focus on and when. It knows just, like, the pacing is what really nails it. The pacing of the show is so good. Nothing is too fast, like the Mario movie. Nothing is too slow, like that fucking Henry Cavill movie that I saw the other night. It's not
Argyle, Agent Argyle.
No, the Ministry, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Oh, was that as bad as?
It sucked. Oh, I saw it with Evan, actually.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, I saw it with Evan. It was not good.
Cheeks?
Yeah, maybe not cheeks, but the movie just couldn't decide what it wanted to be. It couldn't pick a lane for something that advertised itself as being more turn your brain off actiony, that was way more dialogue, but it was still intending to be that original thing, so it was just hard to follow, on top of being like...
So it was a very unfocused movie.
Very unfocused movie. It couldn't decide what it wanted to be at different times. It was like something that focused very much more on the style rather than the substance, and it didn't even do the style all that well because it was like overclouded by too much dialogue. It just... couldn't pick a lane. Was not a good movie. Gotcha. Yeah. But anyway. I don't know. You know, I mean, there's the GDA thing with Donald, like, you know, in his whole speech to Rick and whatnot. There's Rex overcoming, like, you know, his douchebagginess, because you always have to have a douchebag stop being a douchebag now. That's a big trope. I'm really happy that, I don't know, I mean, part of me was like, I thought they killed Duplicate, like, into, like, some sort of, like, weird, like, confirmation bias shit, where it's just like, yeah, you know, she's kind of shitty, like, she's kind of a homewrecker, and now she died. And you're supposed to feel bad, but, like, not that bad. But, no, it looks like they're planning on doing way more with her, and I'm happy they did the thing where, like, she just has, like, some clones, like, offshore, so she just doesn't die, which makes sense, and I'm surprised the viewer never thought of that. I never thought of that. I thought she was dead. I really believed.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I really believed it.
Like, I even thought, like, narrative wise, it was probably the best thing that could happen for especially the Immortal, because you know, for a dude who, like, obviously, like, has just gone, like, through life for thousands of years, and, like, you know, the only other person that he could even relate to was with her, like, it, and then him losing her, like, I felt as if, okay, now this is like a turning point for his character, or at least that's how I thought about it. But then, you know, when she came back, I was like, you know, I'm actually not sad. I'm actually really happy that, like, she's actually alive, because, you know, I think he's just, like, kind of one of those examples of, like, you know how everyone always says, like, oh yeah, like, being immortal is great. It's like, no, it fucking sucks, man. It really sucks.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've even been watching, for any of you anime guys out there watching Free Rem, which is about an elf who, she's, like, lived up to, like, 1,000 years, but she's gone through that whole thing where, for people who have lifespans like that, where she sees her friends pass away one by one, and, like, kind of just even her, like, navigating through all of that, like, is, you know, obviously, like, I don't think anyone could really say, like, that's something that, like, they could easily, like, kind of just get through, obviously. And, you know, I think obviously the whole trauma of that, like, is very much like something that we could probably never relate to. but like, you know, it's at least going back to like The Immortal and even like just kind of the show itself. Really, it's like this is really a show that has to be treasured. I feel like it. I mean, you know, we already do, sure, but I think really like it deserves to be kind of put on a pedestal nowadays because it's so fucking rare to see just a show like this, in my opinion.
You saw what I'm saying, right? You see what I'm
like,
saying, and the fact that you're just grateful something like this could exist in today's climate, right?
Because especially like this stands with, I agree with you, because I feel as if this even stands with Avatar: The Last Airbender, just as far as like how significant of a show this is. Because for one, like, you know, I don't think anyone here could say that they hated Justice League or Justice League Unlimited as far as like kind of superhero shows go. I don't think anyone could ever sit here and like actually say that. But I think though what we get out of Invincible in general is just something we don't really get that often from a lot of shows. Because I mean, you know, we've seen the superhero tropes and themes just be done to death like all the time now. And, you know, we've even I think you could even agree that we've even just gotten such an oversaturation of it from Disney with Marvel. And like, I think even in a sort of way, like it's very much just like a breath of fresh air that we have with this show, with all the shitty and mediocrity like that we've had for so long. And it just is such a separate fucking show from everything we've seen.
No one's more sick of superhero shit than me.
Yeah.
I promise you, no one is more sick of Marvel than me. I stopped watching Marvel movies at Civil War. That's where I stopped. I just got bored. I was like, all these movies are the same. They're just trying to sell me something. It's not hitting me. It's not really speaking to me. It just feels like mindless, like turn your brain off entertainment at this point. And, you know, despite those movies being as impactful as they were, I stopped caring about them. But Invincible got me to care. No one's more done with superhero shit than me. Or at the very least, like, you know, superheroes with what they become, like just the powerhouse, like money marketing shit that Disney has turned them into be.
It's such a moneymaker now.
It's such a moneymaker. Turn your brain off, come see our shit, you'll like it, blah, blah, blah. But Invincible just doesn't feel like that. It's relatable. It's believable. It has heart. It's different. And it just hits a part of like our neurons, or like hits the dopamine of when we were kids. Because it, like I said earlier, it just feels like one of those like Justice League or Teen Titans type shows that we watched as kids, but just for adults. And it plays off of all those spins by making it not only like, now I want to say realistic, like I said earlier, but just believable. Like Mark Samber's breakup scene, his relationship with his father, it's just so well written. It just remembered to be a good show instead of just being something marketable and profitable, which like so much new superhero shit doesn't. That's why it doesn't have a heart anymore. It's just like, here's a cool superhero. This will be neat. It'll sell. Invincible doesn't do that. A lot of the characters in that show are blatant tropes. Blatant tropes from like other existing superhero shit, but it means more to us than like the tropes that they're based off of. Because it just remembered to be a good show. It's just well written and has a heart and came from somebody's soul. That's what fucking makes it good. Not just whatever like this new cool superhero shit that, oh, this'll sell, this'll be neat. It remembered to be a good story. That's what people want, good stories, not just only fresh ideas and that's it. While the show also managed to continue doing that as well and being a unique take on superheroes at the same time, it just nailed every single hit. It doesn't just play off like a single tropes, or it just makes it like, here's the monomyth of like, you know, like the young kid gets his powers, wants to do this. It plays on that while so much, you can tell so much of the creator and writers put themselves into it, which is just, it feels like that magic has just been lost. From like, you know, just the late stage capitalism-esque, from a lot of shows nowadays, and just superheroes as well. And that's part of the reason that Invincible is just so refreshing. I'm so happy a show like this can exist in today's climate, not just because it's animation and like traditional animation in the way that it is, but also in the sense of what like modern writing is supposed to be about. It feels so much of modern writing and so many other shows feels like very pandery.
Yeah.
Very tropey.
Like She-Hulk.
Like She-Hulk, for one.
Captain Marvel.
You know, you see some of the dialogue in Velma, and you want to say that it's not, but it very much is as well. I mean, that show... The problem with that show is a different thing. Like, that show's just like a weird self-insert shit for Mindy Kaling. It's a whole different ballpark. Which we all put a little bit of ourselves into the protagonist, but with that shit, it's not even really subtle. And she did it with a very beloved IP, which, you know, is shitty. But, Yeah, so much of it feels either pandery or like they just make literally just to sell you things, which every show does. We're not being ignorant. Invincible's the same thing too, but it remembered to speak to us, which a lot of other shows don't. You know? That's why so much of like, you know, writing and voice acting is like learning of what piece of yourself to put into it, because if you want to know what separates a good show from a bad one, it's that. That's what makes it a humanistic experience. That's why people are so pissed about the AI writing shit. That's why people are so pissed about AI voiceovers, because it takes the soul out of it and knows it's going to make the shit not only cheaper to make, but cheaper to watch because it's going to be shittier too. And this show exists despite all of that. And what makes it hit so different for me is that as somebody whose dream in life is to make my pilot a reality, because I'm obviously not going to go into too many details of it here, but I have a pilot. I have an idea for like my own like sort of spin on a superhero show. It's never what I thought I was going to do in life necessarily. Maybe at certain times I thought I'd want to be a writer, but he won't. This is going to sound a little pretentious. I promise I don't mean it like that, or a little crazy. I promise don't put me in a psych ward, Dennis, despite what I said earlier at the beginning of the podcast. I don't talk to it. Like, I don't talk to him. Like, I don't talk to my protagonist. Like, he talks to me. Like, every day. And I can't get him to shut the fuck up. I can't get him to shut up. He's in my head at all times, talking to me. Like, just every facet of life that I've walked through and that I drive through, from my breakups to the trauma that I've endured, that I've suffered, it all just, from growing up with Asperger's, it all just relates to me. And this makes me want to compile it into something that I know can give people that same love that shows like Invincible and like the superhero shows that we watched as kids gave me. And Invincible just serves as a stark reminder of that. And that's what I'm grateful exists. That's what I'm grateful can still be around in this late-stage capitalistic hellhole that you and I live in, where you just make this shit to sell stuff and pander to extremist groups. And Invincible is not that. It remembers to talk to the actual human in all of us, and that's what makes it great. It makes you feel like, you know, with every little piece of dialogue, you know, the people behind it are saying, I love you. Velma didn't love me.
Velma hates you.
Velma hates me. She makes that very abundantly clear in the first episode, where she says, like, nah, we're just friends. Like her panic attack stops because she's laughing so hard at Norville.
Oh, God.
I'm happy I was able to get that out. Thank you for letting me do that.
No, yeah, of course, man.
It is godlike.
I think it's also
go ahead, please.
Oh yeah, like, and I guess we'll just probably, I'll say like a couple more words here and like we'll wrap it up. But I think really like just with the way shows have been made and been pandered to us for the last like maybe 5 or so years, it's very much, again, it's such a breath of fresh air just to see a show like this being able to not only be aired but also like spread its wings too. Because for one, I know Disney will never have the balls to make something like this, for one. And for as much as
last
we give
company
shit,
on the planet that will ever really make something like this. They used to be that company that cranked like that shit out on a fucking yearly basis. They cranked out that magic. But now it's just really like a magic of assembly line whimsy. Because
they figured out a formula and they're going to stick to it forever at this point. Because for one, they know it sells. It sells enough where, okay, our bottom dollar is well fed enough that like, okay, like we don't really care about anything else. And so many shows we've seen have suffered because of that. You know, we know them. We've seen them for the last like couple of years now, and like they all just been so like dog shit. And funny enough, I mean, it's so funny because like we give Amazon like a lot of shit, and like we even call it like the devil sometimes. But they made some fucking great ass shows, like thing almost consistently. And like, not saying everything that they've made, like think for the last like fucking 4 years have been like just bangers. Like I think the two best ones that we've know of so far is obviously The Boys and Invincible. Two shows where their origins being like superheroes and it being just like such a beaten dead horse trope now at this point and used by everybody, even by the ones who we even used to love, like Warner Brothers, has been so fucking just dried up now, like the desert. We thought like that well of creativity was just long gone. But there are still people out there that are like willing to put their heart and soul into this, into like a show, and even like the comics, so to speak, like, you know, obviously like, you know, the origins of the show, the source material, like they literally are willing to put their heart and soul into it. And like, not only just like make something that is great, but also just refreshing at the same time. Like, I don't get excited ever for a lot of stuff nowadays. And like, obviously like, you know, Sonic 3 coming out soon, like I'm excited for that, and like a couple other stuff obviously that's like coming down the pipeline for us like over the year.
That's gonna be a pandery movie, but we don't care.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, like, you know, I think it's just one of those things too. We even said like, I love it that they're pandering to us, because I even told them, like, you know, not that I was speaking with the executives or anything, but like I was like saying that all you have to do is just copy Adventure 2 and you're fucking chilling, man.
They literally said in a press release,
they did.
That's what we fucking did.
Yeah. And like it's like they
bar.
listen to this fucking podcast or something. Like, it's so fucking easy. And like the thing is too, is that like, I know people will even argue, because like this movie, like Sonic 3, going into that just a little bit, Sonic 3 is not meant for moviegoers. Sonic 3 is meant for Sonic fans. I'll say that right now. And like, for anyone who's gonna shit on like the Sonic movie like coming out in a couple months, sorry, this movie's just not for you, man. Like, it's just not for you.
That's all it is.
Yeah. And like, you know, again, we take what we want from things, and like, you know, we kind of leave the rest to whatever it is. And, you know, as for us, like, especially even with Invincible, like, you know, I'm excited for the next couple of seasons, obviously. I'm very interested kind of just to see the, because I think as far as the show goes, I'm kind of glad that it's not following the comic 1-to-1. And I think those sort of creative decisions that they decided on certain parts of the story is kind of fine. Like, I don't really think it took anything away from like the overall narrative. I think if anything, it was just generally like fine. I thought, like, you know, as far as still, again, the pacing of the entire second season, still very much well done. Had never had a dull moment ever for any of the fucking scenes that I watched. Like, even the, you know, the first episode where David rolled his eyes, where it's like evil Mark and shit. Obviously, yeah, I know, like, you know, it you know, I understand like why people would roll their eyes on that, but I still thought it was fucking cool. And I even just thought,
it was
like,
still
you know,
the right thing to do. I acknowledge that. It's exactly what I would have done, but it's just a matter of multiverses shit.
Yeah, exactly. And like, obviously
shit.
The whole theme of multiverse coming into the
I'm sick of everything
story
being a multiverse.
Yeah, and like,
I'm
you know, obviously
really tired of it.
Yeah, like, you know, we've already gotten our fair share of multiverses, and like just kind of how much, like, I don't know, like, we really almost don't care
at this point.
Yeah, at this point, it's just like, it's just become the new keyword, a new buzzword for so many shows now. It's a multiverse like thing. There's multiple versions of you.
It just
like,
literally only
universes.
adds to it, really. Like, there's like, now we can do anything we want, really, but at the same time, it's just like blech.
And like,
it's like the show
it all depends on how you use it as well, obviously, at the end of the day. But like, you know, we've seen it kind of used well during Infinity War and plus also Endgame. So, I mean, you know, to each their own, I suppose, if you like it or not. But I think overall, like, me and David, again, are very grateful that, for one, this show even exists. And like, the fact that season 2 took a while to kind of come out, but we're very glad that they did take the time, because it ended up being worth it. Like, the wait, it ended up being very much worth it. And I'm, again, very excited to kind of see like where seasons 3 to 5 like kind of go. And
I miss my wife, Tails. I miss my wife a lot.
Wait, what?
That's how it ends. It's when Nolan's just sitting there in the prison and he's talking to Alan. And he's like,
oh yeah. Oh, that's right.
I miss my wife.
And
that's gonna be fun.
You know, and as for anyone who reads the comics, obviously, like, I'm pretty sure all y'all are excited as to kind of like to see how the show kind of does the later plot points, and like see and just kind of curious to see like how well they do it, because shit gets crazy. No spoilers, I guess, for like kind of the later seasons, like, since I kind of skipped ahead a little bit in the comics, just kind of like not really reading them so much, but kind of just like reading like where they're at. And like, you know, shit gets crazy by the next couple seasons, so I'm very excited to kind of see like how well they do that.
Do you think Anissa's gonna like rape Mark later?
I don't think so.
No,
because I
think it's
feel
gonna
as
happen
if they really wanted to do that scene, they would have done it when they should have, but they chose not to, or at the very least,
they needed to break Mark and Amber up at that point.
Yeah,
and the thing is, they wanted it to be about the long building thing that was building up to their breakup, not because of some like weird new alternate thing. Like that would have felt more weird. Like if that's the reason, I understand them cutting it. Or moving it later. I mean, like, they also swapped the timeline of events around, so, like, we don't really... Like, the second invasion happens after the Engstrom Levy shit in the comics.
Oh, okay.
So they could just be
switched that. Okay.
They could just be switching some shit around, for all we know. It's the beauty of the show, man. It feels episodic and serialized at the same time. Like, the whole show has its overarching narratives, but can still take you to, like, any sorts of different place at the same time. Those are always the best fucking shows!
Yeah.
Every time!
Yeah, very true.
Every time!
But very few can do it well, though, that's the thing.
I mean, it's hard as fuck. You have to come up with, like, a new setting, like, a new, like, plot point for each individual episode, while still knowing how to properly continue, like, the main one that keeps people coming back. Or, like, that keeps people invested for what's gonna happen later on. That builds up to something bigger, you know what I mean? Like... And the beautiful thing about writing is you can have no idea what any of that means, but you can have the scenes that speak to you in your head that you want to include, and the fun part is piecing together how you're going to get there.
It's true, yeah.
That's how a lot of shit is written.
True.
It's not always written just beginning to end. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then they all kissed and got super pregnant, and then this happened, and then this happened. Most shit isn't written like that. A lot of writers just have like the scenes that speak to them in their heads, and then they figure, okay, how am I going to piece this together to be able to get here from here? How am I going to make that make sense? How am I going to make that believable? How am I going to make that marketable? How am I going to make that engaging? How am I going to make them care?
Which is all like writing 101, guys. Like if y'all out there,
you should take a screenwriting class just for fun.
Yeah, like
you should do it just for fun one time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and like it really kind of it tests you a lot. Writing, I feel.
Yeah,
like
I got to take another one. It's been way too long.
I would love to actually as well. It would be actually really fun.
You should just to try it out, just to see like.
Yeah. Let me get a job first, and then I'll think about that.
Sure. Oh man. Well, I guess we've reached that time.
Plugs.
All things considered. Butt plugs.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are.
Hot stuff.
Real hot stuff right there. Just such like the link right there at youtube.com/Nintoonist to find the sexiest pair of double Ds you'll ever find on the internet.
On Nolan's cheeks.
Those are like G's.
For cheeks? That's insane, though.
most hetero way possible. That man is daddy as fuck. As fuck. Anyway. youtube.com/Nintoonist is where most of you listen. You can check it out there. Be sure to like the video, comment what you thought about Invincible, what it means to you if you've watched it, or get mad at us if this episode spoiled it for you, even though it literally says it in the title and at the beginning before we did any spoilers, you dumb fuck. And yeah, also subscribe to the channel. That would also mean a lot. And if you're listening on listening platforms such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe and follow there as well. And if you're listening on Spotify, be sure to leave us a quick 5-star review on mobile. That helps us out with our SEO quite a bit. Yeah, I drank some coffee before this podcast because I recognize, I've been sort of bum rushing the last couple of episodes because of work, and I think the numbers have reflected that. We put effort into this podcast, believe it or not. We try. I know it sounds like we don't, but we try. We had, like, how many months ago it was? We had, like, a fucking, 3-hour meeting, however long that shit was. It was a long-ass fucking meeting. My ass hurt when we did that meeting. My cheeks hurt when we did that meeting. But yeah, also, lastly, if you haven't watched Invincible, check it out. It's a phenomenal show. I was kicking myself for, never waiting so long to watch it.
I'm recommending it the same way that I recommend the first Avatar: The Last Airbender, like the actual anime.
D score on screen right now for you all at home, just as good as Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's the Dennis seal of approval right there for you all right there. What more do you need? That's his fucking moist meter right there.
Yep.
The D seal of approval.
Just watch it.
D's nuts promote.
D's nuts in your mouth.
D's nuts appreciate Invincible.
Just go and appreciate some real amazing writing in television and animation. Just go and watch it. Just do it.
So a lot of the best ones are animated. Good. A lot of the best ones are.
Yeah. So,
God damn, dude, most episodes were written by a totally different person. I'm going through the list. I mean, most of the ones were written by Robert Kirkman. But a lot of them were actually written by a different person each time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, no, there's also Simon Rakiopa, who comes back sometimes. Rakiopa. Hey, anyway, that's gonna do it. I'm gonna go rocket nozzle this. I'm gonna go rocket nozzle this pasta out of my ass. And you watch Adam Eve.
Oh yes, I should watch Adam.
Yeah, you got to do that. Yeah.
Adam and Eve. Adam Eve.
not Adam and. I just got that. Whoa! Bye.